The Canton Fair is getting worse every year. At the 137th Canton Fair, many people say the customers are not great. Let me share what I've experienced with the customers I've met and what exhibitors have told me. Indeed, the customers are mainly from the Middle East, South America, Russia, Africa, and Southeast Asia. I manage the European and American markets, and it's been tough from last year to this year. The other thing is, many of these customers who had never attended before used to buy locally, but now they want to source directly from China. They want to cut out a lot of middlemen and deal directly with Chinese traders. They want to become the middleman themselves, import directly from China, and then sell to the US. That's why this year is really popular. It's difficult to attract major European or American clients at the Canton Fair now. Today was so disappointing. It's the last day and no foreign customers even stopped by our booth. I walked around the exhibition halls and saw many other products like bathtubs, robots, and wheelchairs. The majority of the clients who visited our booth these days were from Southeast Asia. For those who showed some interest, I added them to my contact list and sent them product pictures and prices, but most of them read the messages and didn't reply. I guess they've visited quite a few booths, added lots of people, and can't keep up with all the messages. After I get back, I'll follow up. Our boss told us to offer the best prices we can for potential deals. We'll probably start packing up soon.
Hey, I just got out of the Canton Fair. I didn't meet a single US client today. Really? We make high-end cooking pots and there were no Americans or European clients. Where are we going to sell our high-end products? I stood there all day and I really feel like this time we are over and done for.
On April 18th, a vendor at the Canton Fair in Guangzhou's Peizhou Exhibition Center shared a video showing the stark contrast from earlier days. He said,
By 12:30, there were just a few people across the hall, and the area is completely empty. There are hardly any visitors downstairs.
Another exhibitor posted a video later that day highlighting the dramatic shift on the fair's fourth day. The bustling crowds of previous days were gone, and the atmosphere has been considerably quieter. As the excitement of the event faded, the vendors speculated whether international buyers, having toured for 3 days, had simply packed up and headed home early. The 137th Canton Fair is being held from April 15th to May 5th in Guangzhou, Guangdong, in three phases, with the first phase ending on April 19th. The US, one of China's largest export market, has seen a significant drop in demand from Chinese goods due to high tariffs, which have substantially increased the cost of Chinese products entering the US. Exhibitors at the fair reported a decrease in orders from Europe and the US, and many attended just to maintain visibility. Without much hope for developing new customers, it's all up to luck.
A lot of people are saying that this Canton Fair has a very different meaning. Many foreign trade bloggers are saying this is the best slap in the face for us. The world keeps turning without the US, and there's still plenty of opportunity. We should look beyond the surface and focus on the real issues. Based on feedback from friends, most of the customers at this fair are from the Middle East, Asia, Africa, and countries along the Belt and Road, with very few European and American customers. From the feedback, it seems that price is more important than quality or design, so it's mainly driven by emerging markets. However, for high-end customized manufacturers, this isn't a good market. Mature customization markets are still dominated by Europe and the US. So for manufacturers focused on European and American markets, this Canton Fair didn't bring much benefit. But the Belt and Road Initiative certainly deserves more attention. Factories that primarily work with European and American markets find it hard to do business in Belt and Road countries. Their quality control systems and design capabilities were geared towards US and European clients. Switching to lower end markets in Africa or Belt and Road countries is a tough adjustment, and the pricing just doesn't work. The most common greeting I heard at this year's Canton Fair was Asarin, Alakon, from Central Asia and the Middle East. Do you know why? Because most of the customers are from Central Asia and the Middle East, and very few from Europe and the US. After Trump's tariffs, this year marks a crucial turning point in foreign trade, shifting towards the Belt and Road direction, whether we like it or not. It's the reality of the foreign trade situation.
A TikToker who had attended the fair 10 times shared a video on April 20th expressing that the Canton Fair was not what it used to be. The prospects of acquiring new customers were bleak.
Recently, many friends have asked me why I didn't attend the Canton Fair. Let me tell you, it's not that I didn't go, I just didn't want to. We do car glass and our company has a booth at the fair, but I didn't go this time. To be honest, I've attended the Canton Fair about 10 times, and when I counted the clients I developed from there, I realized I hadn't really gotten anything significant. Especially in recent years, I can only describe the results as painful to watch.
One exhibitor commented in a social media post that they could barely hold on, as American clients weren't responding and they were being pressured to lower prices. The exhibitor compared the situation to walking on a slippery surface, feeling insecure. This message reflected the difficulties small and medium sized foreign trade businesses face amidst the tariff war. The Canton Fair is seen as a barometer for China's export and a reflection of the country's involvement in global trade. At its peak, the fair accounted for nearly half of China's export turnover, but since 2012, both the fair's transaction volume and influence have been declining, with this year's event facing the added challenge of the ongoing US-China tariff war. Feedback from exhibitors will reveal that the clients from Africa, Asia, and Latin America were demanding lower prices, with many orders for small batch, low value goods leading to much lower profit margins compared to the European and US markets. Some exhibitors pointed out that attracting large clients had become increasingly difficult as most customers placed small orders that could not generate economies of scales. Today is the second day of the Canton Fair. I just got back to my hotel and I want to talk about what I've seen today. I've spoken to a lot of exhibitors and customers, and I've had a chance to observe the situation from a few different angles. First, our customers base has changed. This year, most of the customers are from the Middle East, Africa, Russia, South Asia, mainly India, and Latin American countries. These are the main groups at the fair. Second, I've noticed that a lot of the customers this year are new. They've never come to China before. They used to buy locally, but now they want to buy directly from Chinese factories. Basically, they want to cut out the middleman and work more directly with the source. Third, from a language perspective, I met a lot of people who don't speak English and were relying on body language to communicate. So, to be honest, if you're trying to land big clients at the Canton Fair, it's not that easy. The Canton Fair is still drawing a lot of attention, especially since it's such a big event for the foreign trade industry. But have you noticed that the results of the fair aren't as great as they used to be? At first glance, the fair looks packed and bustling, but the actual number of serious buyers are quite low. Most people there are just checking out what others are doing. So, why is this happening? I think there are two main reasons. First, for exhibitors, the costs are too high and the return on investment isn't great. So, a lot of people might choose to share booth or just attend to walk around, exchange business cards, and see what's going on. Second, international buyers now have many more ways to get information. They don't rely solely on the Canton Fair to find suppliers anymore. So, even if you get some business cards at the fair, don't get too excited. These buyers are smart. They've probably picked up business cards from all of your competitors too. They're professional buyers and they probably know your product better than you do. After the fair, if you get an inquiry, don't get too happy about it. I can guarantee that they've sent the same inquiry to all of your competitors. In this situation, all you can really compete is price, and there's not much else you can offer. You might end up doing the business, but without making any profit. If you don't take the order, someone else will. So you tell yourself, let's do it anyway. I might not make money this time, but maybe next time. That's the reality. This year's Canton Fair is the first large scale export exhibition held in China since the US China trade war began. However, the profit losses caused by the increases in tariff have left many exhibitors deeply concerned. Interviews with Chinese business owners reveal that the loss of the US orders has left their products piling up in the warehouses, and many lamented, "This is really tough." A furniture industry vendor from Fujian stated that the economic situation had been poor in recent years, with last month's furniture exhibition in Shenzhen already disappointing. They follow a traditional foreign trade model and focus on the European and American markets. With foreign trade severely impacted, they were preparing to sit idle during the second phase of the fair. He said, "Our clients don't leave their factories. We can only meet them at the fair. If we're lucky, we might present some new products to them and prove we are still in business. If we're even luckier, we might find new clients." The vendor added that exhibition fees were not expensive, so they continued attending, despite the competition for booth space being fierce. A lighting equipment manufacturer from Zhongshan, Guangdong shared that they had more clients from Ukraine and Russia, but none from Germany, France, or the US. They mainly showcased solar street lamps and control lamps. This was their first time attending the fair with a 3 by 3 meter booth costing around 70,000 to 90,000 yuan, depending on the location. In the previous year, they signed contracts worth hundreds of thousands of yuan, but for this year, they focused more on attracting customers rather than securing immediate orders. They noted that most of their current clients were small batch buyers, and the corporation was more about building relationships rather than immediate sales. Many exhibitors at this year's Canton Fair mentioned that many emerging market clients were first-time attendees and lacked long-term cooperation experience. As a result, the orders were not only small in scale but also unstable. According to Chinese official data, as of April 8th, nearly 170,000 overseas buyers had pre-registered for the 137th Canton Fair, with 72% coming from Belt and Road countries, 27.4% from BRICS countries, 14.3% from Middle Eastern countries, and 10.5% from Europe and the US. By April 14th, the number of registered overseas buyers increased to over 200,000. Chinese official data highlighted the large number of pre-registrations and the high proportion of buyers from emerging markets. The authorities aim to showcase the global reach of the Canton Fair and the resilience of China's foreign trade. But the number of pre-registered buyers does not necessarily reflect actual attendance, and the real number of visitors might have been far lower than expected. Despite the official promotion of these figures, exhibitors and translators at the fair reported a significant decline in foot traffic compared to previous years. One exhibitor said, "They are noticeably fewer visitors than last year." Another noted, "We see almost no visitors from Europe or the US, although there are many from Asia, Africa, and Latin America." Others remarked, by the third day of the fair, visitors to booth had clearly decreased. The recent topic about the lack of enthusiasm at the Canton Fair began trending on social media platform Xiaohongshu, with many Chinese suppliers still waiting to see how the situation unfolds. Some are already preparing to cut their losses as they anticipate tough times ahead. On April 20th, a Chinese exhibitor at the Canton Fair known as Yuan Shan shared a post discussing the deceptive tactics encountered by foreign trade businesses. He described how some South Asian clients at the fair use their strong presence to lure vendors in, promising big orders and coaxing them into providing free samples and hospitality. However, after being friendly and establishing rapport, these clients would vanish, not answering calls or messages, leaving the vendors waiting in vain. Yuan Shan emphasized that this wasn't an isolated case. These clients were skilled at gaining trust with seemingly reliable cooperation intentions, only to exploit vendors for free samples and services. In some cases, deals were even signed on the spot, only for the client to later then turn their backs and refuse to honor the agreement. He pointed out that this wasn't just a problem with South Asian clients, but a common issue across foreign trade. Many others have faced similar scams, with some falling victims to Middle Eastern clients who disappeared with large sums of money. Yuan Shan warned his peers, "Charging for samples and ensuring payments before shipping are basic principles that serve as our protection amulet." Mr. Zhang, who supplied products to a US women's fast fashion brand, shared that business in the apparel industry this year has been particularly difficult, with both foreign and domestic markets showing poor conditions. She expressed her desire to retain her US clients because of the efficiency of the US transactions. She shared, "Orders from the US are quick to pay, simple, and profitable." Ms. Zhang experienced highlights in the reliability of US customers in foreign trade, where fraud or deceptive practices are rare. Payments are fast, transactions are straightforward, and profits tend to be higher. This stands in contrast to the tactics some South Asians and Middle Eastern clients may use, as mentioned by other exhibitors at the fair. For suppliers like Ms. Zhang, the US market is not only an important revenue source, but also holds particular value for its efficiency and stability. With the US market cooling rapidly and placing immense pressure on the overall economy, the atmosphere at the Canton Fair has been much quieter than in past years. Reports have emerged suggesting that the fair's organizers have pressured exhibitors not to leave early. From the platform X, it was disclosed that exhibitors were told they could not leave their booth early. The organizers urged exhibitors to make the most of the opportunity to attract sales. On the first day of the fair, April 15, the business office of the China Import and Export Fair issued a notice to all trade delegation, stating that the current foreign trade situation is complex and challenging. The notice instructed companies to fully use the 5-day exhibition period and not leave early. Staff should not leave their booth before the scheduled end of the fair. The fair organizers also announced that a special inspection would be conducted before 6 p.m. on the 5th day of each phase. Any exhibitors who left their booth early or removed their exhibits would lose their qualification for the fair's awards and be publicly reported. On April 18th, exhibitors received another notice reiterating that no early departure is allowed and the 5th day at 6 p.m. is the official departure time. However, later, exhibitors were informed that there would be no strict requirements for the departure time in the first phase if there were no buyers on site. Exhibitors could begin leaving after 12 p.m. on April 19th. Bloomberg reported that this notice had been widely shared on Chinese social media platform and was confirmed by 2 exhibitors. Industry experts believe that from the perspective of China's diplomacy, export is a matter of saving face for the country. Even under pressure, the Chinese government still strives to push forward with these events. In response to the notice, some Chinese users pointed out that this time it wasn't as easy as simply leaving. For businesses with low foot traffic, the Canton Fair had become an ordeal. Some mocked the organizers, suggesting they hired actors to fill the space. This is not enough. They should bring in some Southeast Asians and Europeans as extras to make the venue look crowded every day. Experts have analyzed that the impact of the tariff war on the Canton Fair and China's foreign trade is multifaceted, affecting exhibitors' confidence, order structures, and the fair's overall function. This year's Canton Fair clearly shows a decline in orders from Europe and the US, while orders from Africa and Belt and Road countries have increased. This shift indicates a change in China's exports, which is not necessarily beneficial. Exports to Europe and the US tend to have higher prices, while exports to Belt and Road or Asian countries are lower priced, which will impact China's overall foreign trade figures. In short, it seems the Canton Fair is getting less successful with each passing year.